I'm Bob Abrams. I'm actually down here in South Florida and actually go way back with the Angelbeat team. So thanks for having me on. I'm going to go through probably about the next maybe 10 minutes or so, an abbreviated presentation that shows where we fit, what we do. What I normally do with this is, as we're presenting and showing our demo, is use it to drive the conversation. So I'm going to give you the highlights of the presentation that we use that'll show where we fit, what we do, and more importantly, what we don't do. There's a lot of claims out here in cybersecurity, and we're pretty well defined, and we educate folks, then buy. We don't really sell a whole lot, but we do sell a lot just by the nature of what we do. If you have not heard of Huntress, we've been in the news lately tied to the Kaseya breach recently. We were actually out in front of that pretty early on, actually almost earlier than Kaseya. We were in touch with them, letting folks know. Our founders, go ahead, Ron, go to the next one. Our founders came out of the NSA and after a 10-year run, and they were focused in the NSA on something called persistence. They were basically working for the US government, fighting our foreign adversaries. And what they would do is they would break into their networks, and their job was to remain there and stay persistent for, in their case, months to years, so that other teams could then come in, use that persistent mechanism or the back door that they opened up. They would remain there silently, quietly, hiding under the covers, get past all sorts of preventative tools, and no one knew they were there, and they got pretty darn good at it. So when they started Huntress 5 years back, they were focused on how do you protect against persistence, which is now being used more and more in the commercial space. And Huntress was then formed to focus strictly on that one silo. If you're familiar at all with the Mitre attack framework, persistence is step 3. If we can boot them out before they start to get external recon, go in there, get all of your IP, customer data, all the things they try to do, we can stop them early in the attack. So we focus on persistent threats that typically will bypass or do bypass the preventative tools because they're not looking for what we are. Next one is good. Ron, you can build that one out. So we complement your existing stack. We're not here to say we're doing next gen AV, EDR, all the other things that you have in your stack, and based on the customer list, you folks have, I'm sure, pretty robust security stacks. We complement it. If you've got an existing pretty robust SIM SOC doing your own threat hunting and cybersecurity, we will complement that nicely and make it more efficient. If you don't have that detect and respond space covered where we play, then we are there, and we are your eyes and ears as to what's happening out there. And I'll show you what that means in a minute. And we're simple and affordable. Next one's good, Ron. Thanks. So one of our threat researchers, if you haven't checked out John Hammond, he works for us. He's over 200,000 YouTube followers at this point, pretty well known, highly regarded out there in the white hacking community. He estimates that over 90% of the domain-wide ransomware attacks these days are starting with what's called persistence. And at a high level, persistence, if you're not familiar with it, is when you start that Windows machine and all of those commands run that are at the beginning every time you reboot it. Microsoft put those in way back when to remain persistent and to be able to reboot and bring back everything that machine should have on it. The bad actors have figured out ways to look legit, get past the prevention, slip under the covers, and sit there and open up a back door and remain there typically for hundreds of days and at times with a long dwell time, looking to outlast backups so that if you restore, you're restoring with their persistent backdoor. And what they do with that is they'll come back at a later date and they'll do ransomware as a service. They'll drop all the malicious payloads, which is a lot of the stuff that's been in the news lately, where folks are now finding that they've been ransomed. And then what they do find is that it was done way earlier using these persistence mechanisms. And that's where we focus. Next one's good, Ron, thanks. So if we look at, if you're familiar, you can go to the next one's fine. If we look at NIST, we use this as a framework, and you can plug in any framework that you like to use to make sure that you're properly protected. We like NIST, National Institute Standards and Technology, and their framework is really simple and logical. Identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. If you had unlimited budget and you were looking to build out, you could build all of these columns out, these categories out, really to any extent that you need to properly protect in each of those. What we typically see is, on the next slide, The next one's good. Yeah. So some variation of what you saw in the previous, and this is what we typically see. There's a lot of money and a lot of really good software products out there that are in that protect layer, the recover, the backup recovery. But normally the gap is, and you can build it, Ron, that's fine, is the detect and respond is normally either thin or not covered at all, because if you do have teams that are doing detect and respond, you're well aware that it's pretty darn expensive. They're looking to cover quite a few aspects of the Mitre attack framework, and I'm sure getting a lot of alerts and overworked and start to take their eyes off the ball. So what we focus is in that detect and respond. You can click it, Ron. It'll build that one out, I think. Yep. And again, security expertise required in that detect and respond. Go to the next one's good. Okay. We like to show this again. We do a lot of education. You should check out our blog at some point. We'll do a follow-up if you inquire back with Ron, have any questions, or as a follow-up email. But huntress.com/blog, you'll see what we're doing out there and giving back to the cybersecurity community. There's no sales stuff in that blog. It really is all about what's going on. But we take a look at what's happening in the space. And Ron, you can build this one out, it's fine. We'll save a little bit on it. Most of those preventative tools on that protect layer, what they're doing is software primarily or technology, and they're really good at what they do, and they are very much needed. They're going to stop 99% of the time. Most of the stuff is being thrown at your environment, but the bad actors only need to be right one time. They're going to slip past that compromise and start to plant some persistence. And if you're not threat hunting in detect and respond, if you look at the blue bar on the bottom, with more and more people in context, you're going to miss things because the software can't keep up with the human bad actors that are outsmarting that protect layer that's typically looking at some intelligence database for known goods and known bad. So the software is quite good in that protect and prevention layer, or what we call defense on left of compromise. You need to play offense when you're right of compromise. And if you're not playing offense with humans looking at some software and a combination of technology and people, then you're going to miss things. And that's right where we are. So we're post-prevention, prevention and preventative tools, and we are a combination of human threat ops augmented by our proprietary software that's looking at things that we've identified in real time. Okay, next one is good.
One of the things I just want to comment, which is interesting, it's a similar approach that our opening presenter, UiPath, who showcased their integrated solution with AWS, which was use technology as your first tier one initial interaction with customers or employees, whatever, and then eventually in a smarter, technologically enabled way, then turn it over to people. But that agent in that call center application is much better equipped to deal with that situation, understand this, and understand what needs to be done to service customers. I think it's a different application, but the same underlying strategy is to use technology, but have it overseen by people to make the important decisions. And again, the reason why I asked Bob to present, and he's going to go on a little bit more, is that in the world of consumer marketing, packaged goods retailing, consumer data is king. That data is so critically important. It's why there are so many increasing amount of regulations from GDPR. It's why Apple put in their new software update, gave employees or people more control of their data. But data is king, and Huntress plays an important role in ensuring that retailer, consumer goods company can ensure their data is protected, not from the immediate zero-day attacks, but from the persistent attacks. Bob, let me turn it back to you.
Thanks, Ron. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, next one. Oh, you can skip that one. Go ahead. If you're either familiar or not familiar, it doesn't matter with the Mitre attack matrix. This is Mitre puts out the anatomy of an attack, and the top columns, I realize this is an eye chart, don't worry about the detail on there, but the top column headings going across from left to right is the anatomy of an attack. And this is the way that an attack will take place no matter what they're doing or what they're using. What Mitre does, nonprofit group, and check them out if you have not, they're constantly updating what's in the light colors in the body of it with the latest techniques that were used. So they'll take the latest attacks, they'll work together, reverse engineer it, work with the overall cyber community, and then they'll update this to show where it fits in that Mitre attack matrix. So you've got initial access, execution, persistence at step 3, which I mentioned before. And if you look at everything to the right of persistence, that's where it starts to get pretty ugly, right? You're going in there doing credential access, discovery, lateral movement, and collection. Then at the end, exfiltration, right? And then the impact. So they're taking the data at that point, as Ron mentioned, you've got all of your data, which is your crown jewel, and they're going to pull that out and then eventually impact and drop the ransomware, crypt it and ransomware. So if you can stop, go to the next one, Ron, it'll build on that. If you are stopping, or we are working to stop at persistence, we're going to break the chain and nothing to the right can take place. So prevention is initial access and execution. Hopefully that's doing its job. Not hopefully, I'm sure it is most of the time. But as everybody's now aware, if they get through again one time only, if we can hunt in that persistence column and break that chain, then they can, you go to the next one, Ron, they can at that point won't be able to get to the discovery and the payload execution. So again, at persistence, they're hijacking the legitimate Microsoft auto runs, all that code, all the registries. There are hundreds to thousands of those per machine. So we're looking at hundreds of thousands of auto runs basically in your environment, with a combination of a really thin agent that runs that silently in each Windows machine, sends it up to our cloud, and we're looking for those back doors and booting them out with, again, that combination of human threat ops team and our software. If we can stop them at persistence before they've dropped any malware, so they haven't ransomed, they haven't encrypted, because now they need to do recon. When they get into your environment, they don't know who to go to, which systems to go to. So at that point, they're starting to do all of their data gathering to figure out, where are the customer records, where are the charge records, all that. They're going to start to look for all of that, which takes time. So what we're doing is we're hunting every 15 minutes is when our agent checks in to find those back doors and then boot them out. Then they can't get to step 4 or step 5 there with discovery or payload execution. Okay, next one. Just real quick, not going to get technical, but to give you an idea as to how it works and what it does. Little thin agent out there. It's about a 12 to 15 meg agent, takes 1 to 2% of the CPU. So we're low impact, we're hidden. No one sees us. Users don't know we're there. You know we're there, or your system admins know we're there. Sitting out in the Windows machines. We're sending that data up to our cloud. It goes to the left side there to our software, and then that will parse it out to the threat ops team. And only if we find something that is malicious, so you're going to hear from Huntress. So we're not giving you alert fatigue. You're not seeing all sorts of false positives. All of that's going up into our human threat ops through our cloud. And if there is an incident, we will give you a descriptive report that's produced by the threat ops analyst. And then you'll get a step-by-step remediation with a green easy button that a low-level tech system admin can go in there and then execute by clicking the green button, and our agent will then deploy and clean up that machine, and then you just go on with your day. So the only time you'll hear from Huntress is when there is a malicious incident, and we give you step by step. If you want to see all that work, the investigations, all the hits, it's all in the portal, it's all in the dashboard. So if you needed to go into that and do some reporting, you need to do compliance reporting, all of that is available through the dashboard by a single click. Okay. Go ahead and click that one out. So just to recap, that's where we're focusing. Detect and respond is where we focus. Our 3 founders came out of the NSA. Well known. We just secured a $40 million Series B round. We are growing like crazy, and folks are using us to supplement, to augment, to make teams more efficient, or to use us as that complete threat hunting in that detect and respond. Next one. That's what our threat ops team does. Again, it's human threat ops. They work for us, no one else. They are trained by those 3 former NSA guys on how to reverse engineer and find all this stuff that slips past and looks legit to everybody else. And I think there was one more, and I think that's it. We'll wrap. Oh, you can go past this. This is an actual incident report. I talked to this before. Shows you what it is. Green remediation button will show a live one. There's a sample, actually. That's what we're going to send your way. If it looks good to you, click approve. So you don't need to, you just review it. You don't need to do it. Our agent will do it for you. Again, no false positives, just what needs to be done. And oh, you're good. That's it. Yeah, 21-day trial. So we'll follow up. If you want to get a more in-depth presentation demo, have us take a look at what you're using to see how we would complement it. And then if you decide you want to give it a shot, free 21-day trial, it's full functioning, unlimited number of endpoints. It's super easy to deploy the agent. We've got an engineer that'll actually help you and your team do it. The neat part is if you want to uninstall it, timing's not right, you decide the product's not right for you, it's a one-click uninstall. You don't need to do credit card commitment. Basically, it's just your domain name, email address, and off you go. So easy to deploy, even easier to uninstall should you decide you want to wait to buy it or just want to take it off.